Good evening. The National Institutes of Health report. Approximately 7 million persons in USA were currently users of psychotherapeutic drugs. Psychotherapeutic drugs target CNS, central nervous system. The medications most commonly used are tranquilizers, stimulants, and pain relievers. Americans consume 5 billion tranquilizers, 3 billion amphetamines, 16,000 tons of aspirin every year. And more than half of all American adults consume more than 300 milligrams of caffeine every day. And between 75 and 90% of all visits to primary care physicians in the USA result from stress-related disorders. This is the reality of our contemporary life. My topic is, how does physiological health affect our spiritual life? A couple of weeks ago, one of my friends told me that she felt her brain didn't stop working, even as she wanted and needed to have a good night's sleep, so that she had to take some pills to sleep. And I also see many practitioners who say that it is hard for them to begin a day without coffee. It is easy to say, due to the stress. Yes. Our culture, individually and socially, is dominated by so many stresses and the corresponding negative emotions. The most damaging toxic emotions are anger, rage, hostility, unforgiveness, worry, anxiety, fear, and depression, frustration, isolation, grief, guilt, and cynicism. We contemporary people are collectively struggling with these emotions every day. A medical doctor, Don Corbett, through his decades of medical practices, holds that what you feel emotionally becomes how you feel physically. And damaging emotions will end up to deadly diseases. Through my study and practice as a won-Buddhist minister and practitioner, I've also awakened to the fact that my body is so manifested that it has become the vessel of my emotional reality. I believe that some human diseases can be prevented by cultivating our positive emotions. Developing the positive emotions for the well-being of a human life has been a growing field of research in neuroscience and other areas of medical investigation. We are born not only to survive, but also to thrive with peace and joy. I believe that we should take the full responsibility for actualizing infinite human potentials. Different people seem to have different conflicts facing into their own lives. Then what's the nature of their conflicts and stresses? Doctors Childer and Martin give this definition of stress. Quote, "Stress is the body and mind's response to any pressure that disrupts their normal balance. It occurs when our perceptions of events don't meet our expectations and we don't manage our reaction to the disappointment. Stress, that unmanaged reaction, expresses itself as resistance, tension, strain, or frustration, throwing off our physiological and psychological equilibrium, and keeping us out of synchronicity. If our equilibrium is disturbed for long, the stress becomes disabling. We weaken from overload, feel emotionally shut down, and eventually get sick. I agree with this opinion. I believe we have the obligation to be well, not sick. I believe that our emotions are experienced physiologically as well as psychologically. We 21st century people have become so knowledgeable about human physiology and psychology. Thanks to the advanced scientific investigation into human reality and the mind-body connection. The cutting-edge neuroscientists, with a deeper understanding of the human conditions, have discovered that when the human mind is dominated by the negative thoughts and emotions, amygdala, which is an essential part of the brain, is shown to be overactive. And amygdala is the center for fight or flight in our brain. The prolonged overactivated state of the amygdala keeps us living with a constant state of anxiety and fear because of the stress hormones it produces. Once it becomes chronic, we lose emotional balance. We fall victims of the powerful stress hormones. The quality of our emotional life gets into a dangerous state. I see more and more intelligent, enlightening medical doctors beginning to practice meditation in various forms. They suggest that their patients practice meditation, yoga, aerobic exercises on a very regular basis. What common effects do those practices bring about? I would say those practices bring about the very natural, spontaneous, and the most optimal state of healthful being. We now desperately need and come to be able to master the essential life skills to transform our society's unhealthful lifestyle. The stress response should be transformed into the relaxation response. Shakyamuni Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, about 2,500 years ago, he taught his followers to let go of things they are attached to and take a deep breath. I seem to hear his voice telling us, You have too much tensions in your neck, shoulders, and muscles. Your heart desperately needs more breath to function rightly. Sotaesan, the founder of won-buddhism, proclaimed that life is a gift. We can't survive without support of every single being in the universe. We have to be thankful and grateful. Buddha and Sotaesan were all intuitive people, even without any modern scientific vocabularies. But they exactly penetrated through the essence of human reality. That is why we all admire their wisdom. Along with their insightfulness, their self-knowledge made them become masters of the connection of the human body and mind. With a deeper understanding of the human conditions, Buddha and Sotaesan became healers for others as well as themselves. They are all the enlightened natural scientists by simply taking the journey into their inner world. And we are also born to live as a natural scientist. Lessons from the religious text and spiritual trainings, physical, emotional, and mental, were devised to bring about the relaxation response. And practitioners were taught to evolve as fully grown spiritual beings. Let us consider what happens when we are in the stress response and relaxation response. Once we get into the stress response, hormones such as cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine are released from the adrenal glands. You know that. These hormones cause a person to have heightened alertness and arousal. And it can interrupt your sleep. Many people who are chronically distressed have such constriction of their blood vessels that their hands and feet become cold, which is called Raynaud's syndrome. Excessive sympathetic discharge is its cause, which leads to constriction of the blood vessels and a decrease in the blood and oxygen flow to the extremities. In this state, muscle fibers tighten, heart rate and blood pressure increase. Scientific opinions hold, quote, long-term emotional stress with anger or a sense of danger causes a steady flow of the hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, into the bloodstream. And that flow has a very damaging effect on the body. When it reaches the chronic level, the results of the continual production of these hormones become toxic emotions. The body begins to damage itself, which is called autoimmune disease. The result of autoimmune disease is that the body's immune system not only turns into bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi and cancer cells, but also against healthy cells. And its symptoms are tension headache, digestive tract problems, stomach, intestines, and bowels, skin eruptions, sleeplessness, weight loss or gain, muscle aches, back and leg pain, general lethargy or feelings of exhaustion, and sluggish thinking. In contrast, what happens when we are in the relaxed state? When we are in the relaxed, positive emotional state, neurotransmitters such as serotonin and norepinephrine are released from our body. In the relaxed state, muscle fibers lengthen, allowing the small blood vessels in the muscles to open up, which improves the flow of blood and much needed oxygen to muscles. This, in turn, helps deliver energy to the muscles and remove toxins from the muscles. In a relaxed, non-threatened state, our body conserves energy, which allows for strengthening, rejuvenating, regenerating processes in the entire body. And the immune system, cardiovascular system, gastrointestinal tract, musculoskeletal system, and nervous system will get better because of this very relaxed state. Let me remind everyone of Sotaesan's advice. He said, stop. Take a moment for deep breathing and make a choice with your first fresh idea. This is the moment we can change the stress response mode to relaxation response mode. Which response would you choose to live with for the rest of your life? Either to live in the ultimate joy or to live in the suffering solely depends on your own choice. Human emotions such as love, compassion, thankfulness, gratitude, kindness are the most powerful positive emotions to boost the relaxation response in our physiology and psychology. Buddha and Sotaesan intuitively knew how to prescribe natural pain remedies. With these wisdoms, they were able to free people from their sufferings. Within love and spiritual care, we all can be delivered by freeing our hearts from pain. I have found that most of the human sufferings come from emotional imbalance and the lack of feelings connected with the human nature. This results in loneliness, isolation, depression, criticism, hatred, denial, anger, hurt, and repressed emotions. So our hearts suffer. But healthy people naturally disarm the defense mode in their lives. To regulate emotional balance and to keep the relaxation response, deep breathing is one of the best key approaches. And all yogis taught this for centuries. Deep breathing practice is the simplest thing we can learn, and most people can do. But we have to practice. Last year, in a dance class I happened to attend, I met a beautiful lady who was about to turn to her 90th birthday. I asked her, "What is the secret of your longevity?" She gracefully smiled at me and whispered in my ear, "Just keep breathing." I was shocked and enlightened. She was one who truly figured out the secret of life. How intelligent she was. I had a direct contact with her wisdom and her comprehensive spirit of all the positive human emotions. And she was truly an inspiration for me. I learned a lot. The founder of won-buddhism, Sotaesan, taught us to turn a life of resentment into a life of gratitude. The emotional health is the secret of growing. And deep breathing is the secret of the emotional health. It is the simplest to learn, but the hardest to master. Throughout all of our lives. I hope you keep deep breathing and be well and live long. Palms together.